Hi, and welcome to Commissioner's Corner. I'm your host, Lois Leonard, and thanks for joining us today. And I'm glad that you did, because we're going to talk about an issue that touches us all: substance use disorder, opioid addiction, and the paths that Boston has put in place for recovery. If you or someone close to you has questions or are looking for help, then I encourage you to stay with us today and listen in as we talk with the Director of the Mayor's Office of Recovery Services, Jennifer Tracey. Jennifer, thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure.
You know, the Mayor's Office of Recovery Services is the very first municipal office of its kind in the whole country. So can you tell us a little bit about how this program got off the ground?
Sure, happy to. Through the Mayor Walsh's leadership, when he first came into office, one of the first things that he did was conduct a year-long analysis of the services in the city of Boston in partnership with Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation of Massachusetts. And through that analysis, really discovered the gaps and the strengths of Boston's continuum of care. One of the recommendations from that analysis was the launching of a municipal office to work citywide on the issues of substance use and addiction, and that's how we got here.
And he's lucky to have you, because you've had quite a great background in this subject by working for the state in the past. So from what I understand, you have a great group of people working in your office, and you're working hard.
Yes, very hard every day.
Well, last summer you opened up an engagement center, a pilot program, if you will, where individuals in need of a space could spend time during the day and go to. What kind of services are provided there?
Sure. So, we opened the engagement center due to a lot of collaboration with the community, with the residents in the South End, the business owners, and people on the street receiving services. We did about a year's worth of work with those groups in order to identify one of the solutions to the number of people that we see down in the Mass Cass neighborhood, as we call it, or Massachusetts and Melnia-Cass intersection, which we all know has been a challenge for us in the city of Boston. There's a lot of services in that area, but there's, which is great, because Boston has a wealth of services in the whole city, but in particular in that area. But with that comes a lot of foot traffic in the area. A lot of people going to work. We have a large medical center, so there's a lot of foot traffic. There's people receiving services who come to receive services, and there were a lot of folks out on the street during the day. And when we spoke to those individuals, and as well as business owners and residents, everyone agreed that really the top priority for everyone was a safe and welcoming place for people to go during the day.
And during the day, what might they spend their time doing?
So we opened the Engagement Center in August of this year as a pilot. We just finished our 6-month pilot phase, and it's an open, very low threshold, low barrier space where folks can come in, they can get a cup of coffee. We have restrooms for people to use. We have programming that consists of everything from arts. We're having a writer's workshop. We have Boston University is helping with dental care. So we have a lot of providers that come in the space during the day to provide their specialty of services.
Have you been busy?
Maximum capacity since we've opened. So we have people waiting for us when we open the doors. These are folks that sleep out in the street at night. These are folks that are in the shelters. These are folks that are receiving services during the day and need a safe place to go. We have computers and workforce development workshops and TVs and a whole host of things based on really the needs of the individuals and what folks have told us would be helpful for them.
Where exactly is the center located?
The center is located on Southampton Street in city space adjacent to the 112 Southampton shelter.
And your hours that they're open?
So we are open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
And it's just a drop-in kind of service. You can just walk in. You don't need an appointment.
No appointment. People are in and out during the day, sort of getting their needs met, socializing, interacting, and engaging in services and referrals to treatment when they're ready. That's terrific.
Another very important step for anyone who's looking for help is to know where to find it. I know just about 2 years ago in 2016, Mayor Walsh launched 311, a sort of recovery hotline service, if you will, a support system. How's that working?
Sure, it's great. We identified in Boston, when we first opened the office, we were surprised that folks still didn't know what to do or where to go with help, even questions, so treatment referrals or questions. And so we thought it was a natural connection to make with the constituent service line that the mayor has, 311. Most residents are familiar with it, with broken street lamps or garbage pickup or whatnot. So what we did was we created a 24/7 hotline behind 311 with recovery experts. So if you call 311 and you have a question about services or referrals or anything around the system, you can, 311 will connect you directly to our recovery service specialists, public health advocates.
And if someone calls 311, what are the typical questions that they might ask, and how do you handle them?
Well, many people are calling to ask a question about services. They may not be ready for services, but they might want to know the lay of the land.
Right.
What do I need to do?
It's confusing for some. I mean, between health insurance and just the opportunities that are there, and many people don't realize that there are opportunities that are available to them.
Right, and these are the gaps that we've tried to fill for folks in Boston, is not only the 311 line, but also our walk-in services.
And again, the 311 line is 24/7.
It is.
Yeah, that's terrific. Well, speaking to the people who are homeless, and of course our substance use disorder quite often does lead to homelessness. In 2014, to ensure public safety, unfortunately, Mayor Walsh had to make the decision to close the Long Island Bridge. And on the island, it housed homeless shelters and offered substance use treatment programs, but the facilities were closed. But recently, Mayor Walsh pledged to rebuild that bridge. So we're going to listen to Mayor Walsh right now.
In 2014, for the safety of our most vulnerable residents, we were forced to close the Long Island Bridge. At the same time, we opened the door to long overdue reforms in how Boston provides human service for our region. I want to make one thing clear. The opioid crisis and homelessness are not the same. They each require a comprehensive response. That's why we created an Office of Recovery Services to expand access to treatment. Recovery requires a continuum of care, from detox to residential treatment to transitional housing to reclaim your life. For many people, including myself, Long Island played a vital role in Boston's landscape, and it will again. I pledge to you today that we are and we will rebuild the bridge back to Long Island. And we will create on Long Island the comprehensive long-term recovery campus that our city and our state needs now more than ever to tackle the opioid crisis.
Well, Jennifer, the mayor certainly seems very committed to rebuilding the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was a devastating decision for him to have to make at that time due to the safety of folks that had to be made. But we're very optimistic about and excited about the opportunity to really start fresh. You know, it's 4 years later, and this gives us a chance to look at where we are now with the system. Mm-hmm. As you stated, all the beds have been replaced that were on Long Island. This is going to be different than it was then. The addiction epidemic is different than it was then. And so this really gives us a chance to look at the space out there and how we can best utilize it to provide real continuity of care for folks that are receiving services.
Right, and there's a number of ways to use the island. There is a camp out there currently. Mm-hmm. How is that working?
So the camp has continued. The children's camp has Camp Harborview has continued to operate, and as the city moves forward to assess the land and the buildings and what it takes to build the bridge, we will be working with providers and stakeholders and our state partners to really design what we think can be a state-of-the-art continuum of care on the island that folks will have access to in new and different ways. And so we'll use the land is beautiful out there. It provides an opportunity to be in a serene, tranquil setting while you're receiving your care. So we have high hopes what will come out of Long Island.
Great. For the fiscal year 2018, the mayor, he invested by expanding on two of the programs that are in place. One is called Paths, and the other is the Mobile Sharps team. Let's start talking about Paths, because I'm personally was not familiar at all with the program.
Sure. So Paths, the acronym stands for Providing Access to Addiction Treatment, Hope, and Support. That's the PATHS
You
program.
got that one down, okay.
It's very well known in the treatment community across the state. It really is a unique, one-of-a-kind program.
Yeah.
We call it the city's Access to Care program. So this is a program that's located down on Mass Ave in Albany. It's a walk-in service. With the mayor's investment over the last couple of years, it has continued to expand its hours, and so it's operating 7 days a week now as well, along with the engagement center. So they there's a nice complement there. This is a service where people can walk in 7 days a week and be referred to treatment. So as we stated earlier, the treatment system is a complicated system to navigate.
So if someone walks in there, they can perhaps get some counseling on to where the next step is and where they can go to get further help?
They'll get they'll get assessed. They'll the public health advocate and recovery specialist will go through what you need to get on to the next level of care, and they will do real-time placement. So it really is like treatment on demand, as we like to say in the field.
One-stop shopping.
One-stop shopping. I think last year we placed over 2,600 people into treatment across the metro area and across the state.
It's a very important component to what you guys do. And the Mobile Sharps team, how's that working?
And the Mobile Sharps team has been, with Mayor Walsh's investment, doubled in this past year. So these are folks that respond to 311 constituent calls around needle pickups across the city. So they're canvassing neighborhoods, responding to those calls, but also trying to stay ahead of the game and proactively hitting spots.
Members of the Sharps team, are they volunteers? Are they employees of the city?
These are 4 full-time employees of the City Health Commission, Bureau of Recovery Services.
They've been very busy, from what I see.
Right, yes. We're not a place we necessarily want to invest the dollars.
But necessary.
But necessary.
Yeah,
and
a job well done.
Yeah, and really helpful for neighborhoods because it's immediate response.
Right. Well, what about services for active users? What is your office providing for them?
So, you know, as I said before, we really want to hit every gap in the continuum of care. So for active users, besides the engagement center that we mentioned, we have a program called A-Hope, also located down with our Bureau of Recovery Services, and that is another walk-in service that it's the state's oldest needle exchange program. It's a harm reduction site, an overdose prevention site. They provide testing, HIV testing, STI testing for folks, and referrals to treatment as well. And folks walk in and out of there 5 days a week. We see about 500 people a week.
Counseling, is that available for those?
There's always counseling. It sits in the same building as an outpatient program that provides counseling as well. So we're very connected within our services, and there's a lot of warm handoffs. So the PATHS program that I just mentioned is next door. So if someone's ready for treatment, they're being walked right next door and to get placed into treatment.
You mentioned earlier that the mayor collaborated with quite a few other offices in order to get this office off the ground, working with the other city departments. How did that work?
It's been working great. You know, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of city departments. We feel with this office and with the mayor's leadership that every city department has a role to play in the addiction epidemic, regardless of what it is. We really tackled our first responders who are out there doing the work every day, and they're seeing the opiate epidemic firsthand.
Sure.
And so working with our fire commissioner, police commissioner, chief of EMS, and the Public Health Commission really have formed a team to tackle this crisis in the city in different ways.
You must have to work closely with the Justice Department, the Criminal Justice Department as well.
Yep. So those are other partners. So state partners, we work with the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department. We launched a recovery reentry panel, the first ever, with the Sheriff's Department, which is a place for treatment providers, workforce training programs, healthcare facilities to go inside the jail, meet with folks before they come out, develop those relationships, let them know that they're there, and meet with them when they come on the outside, which is really important to make that connection for folks.
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize again how the City of Boston is the first in the country to have an office such as this. Mayor was totally committed to that. In fact, he's been sort of like the team leader for mayors around the whole country that are hoping to begin their own offices. Tell us how hard the mayor's working.
Right, so he is working hard. He's looked at across the country as a leader on this issue, and folks are looking to us to help them with some of these municipal issues and how do you make it work and how do you fund this, et cetera. So the mayor was asked to chair the first ever substance use and recovery task force at the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And he's been doing that now for 2 years, and that's been great. We've developed a toolkit of best practice for other mayors that they can utilize on everything from how do you conduct a citywide analysis of services, who do you partner with, how do you pull in sort of creative partnerships. We've really looked to our arts department to add to the work that we've done, to really non-conventional departments. Again, feeling like everyone has a role here in some way. To be at the table, because it really takes all of us.
Right. And how often does the Convention of Mayors meet to discuss these sort of things?
So formally twice a year. They meet in Washington, D.C. in January, and they meet at a different city every June. And this June coming up, since you mentioned it, will be in Boston.
The toolkit that you spoke of, you can find it online at your website. And when I took a look at it, it's not just a toolkit for a mayor of a city, but it could be for anyone. There's some great information there, so I would encourage anyone to go online and check that out. I think it can be helpful to anyone whose lives have been touched by this, and of course we all have in some way or another. Another positive, your office is offering a scholarship program to people in recovery. Tell us a little bit about that.
Great, so that's the PAIR initiative that we recently launched, and it really is looking at the back end of services. So as we look at the continuum of care, what gaps there exist, we're focusing on folks in early recovery. How do we support them, and what's missing currently for them? And so the PAIR initiative will identify folks that need some extra support in whether it's with education or a training program, perhaps some housing assistance to really get them back on their feet and stabilized. Yeah.
Jennifer, thank you so much. It sounds like a great program. Your office is doing such a great job, and we thank you and your office for your hard work, bringing solutions and hope that we all can work together to make a difference. And thank you, our viewers, for joining in. If you feel that you personally cannot make a difference, then think again. Simply changing our words when we talk about substance use disorder will help. Let's alleviate the stigmas and bring respect to those who are struggling. For more information on the Mayor's Office of Recovery Services, please visit boston.gov/recovery. If you or someone you love needs access to recovery services, you can now call 311 and the Mayor's Office will help you get access to recovery services and resources. We'll see you next time on Commissioner's Corner.